start dot at 8:30, but thank you for joining in early. It gives me time to tell you that today at 9 we'll have a photograph taken of all the attendees. So please make sure that it's convenient for you to switch on your video just for a minute or two. That's it, right? Throughout the entire duration, you're most welcome to keep it off. We understand there are data limitations for everybody. So just at 9, we are going to take a photograph so that we can remember this event later on, right? So I request all of you to do that. Akash, so have you joined here? I can see Akash has also joined, right? Okay, fine. Thank you, Akash, for joining in early.
Thank you.
Oh, I can see Professor Banerjee. Sir, thank you for joining in. I think, yeah. And please let me know, Otonu has joined in. Is it Otonu? Have you joined in?
Yes, I'm there.
Yes, yes. Please let me know if any of our faculty members join in. Okay, if you just spot, I think I saw our head of the department. I don't think he can hear me right now. There must be some problem. Okay. Anyway, we'll start shortly. So at least let us keep our videos on so that we don't look at an empty screen. Okay, so Akash, can you just share your first slide so that we can start right away? It would be convenient.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Let me know if you see my slides.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Yes, Akash, I can see it.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I have some network issue in my computer, so I'm sharing from my phone.
Oh, I see. Okay. So it's quite early at your place, right? Kota baje okhane ekhon? It is some 7:30 or something?
No, it's 6:53.
Oh my God. So you haven't had much sleep then. Okay.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's only once in a blue moon that we get to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, when we take a snap, you also join with your video also so that it also appears,
sure.
right? Let's wait for a couple
Yes,
of minutes for everybody else to join in. Like since it's scheduled at 8:30, we'll be doing that. In the meanwhile, why don't you tell me what all have you done after reaching there? I mean, like you already had arranged for the place to stay and all. I know that. কিন্তু পড়াশোনার ব্যাপারে কি করতে হলো once you reached there?
So once I reached, I had to like register in courses out here initially. Before that, also I had to make sure that I inform my university যে আমি এখানে চলে এসেছি। তার কিছু প্রসিডিয়ার্স থাকে মানে পাসপোর্ট ভেরিফিকেশন এন্ড স্টাফ, তো সেগুলো করা হলো। আর তারপরে স্টাইপেন্ড স্টার্ট করার জন্য এখানে ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট এন্ড অল খোলা, তারপরে এখানে একটা প্যান জাতীয় একটা জিনিস হয় ITIN বলে, তো সেইটা
Is that the same as the
social
social security number they use, or is it different for it?
It's a bit different because social security number
It's for
they will give
citizens,
you
right?
no. I also will get a social security number next year. That is the first year I'm on fellowship. That is, I'm not working. I'm not
Acha,
working, but I'm
okay,
still getting
okay.
money. But
Mm-hmm.
if I work like second year থেকে যখন আমি আড়ে বাটি হব তখন I'll have to get a SSN.
I see. Okay. And about the subjects that you have chosen, like how did you choose that?
So basically advising session হয়েছিল, and now in the division of engineering যেখানে আমি করছি মানে এটা ইলেকট্রিক্যাল ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং এর আন্ডারে ইলেকট্রোফিজিক্স বলে একটা সাব ব্রাঞ্চ আছে। So when you come here এখানে তোমাকে 2 বছরের মধ্যে you need to clear something called a screening exam. Now in that
Okay.
screening exam এর কিছু কিছু ক্রাইটেরিয়া থাকে। in electrophysics ক্রাইটেরিয়া হচ্ছে 4টে কম্পালসারি সাবজেক্টস আছে আমাদের এই ডিপার্টমেন্টে যেগুলো তোমাকে পড়তেই হবে, apart from
So
2 other
that is all
subjects from
university dependent, right? It depends on
yes
which
yes
university you're joining. Okay.
yes right হ্যাঁ, তো ওটা ওটা ইউনিভার্সিটি টু ইউনিভার্সিটি ভেরি করে। তো আমাদের ইউনিভার্সিটিতে এটা রুলই ইলেকট্রোফিজিক্সে। তো
Okay.
তার জন্য I had to take subjects যেটা will add up for my screening exam. So
Oh.
each semester I've taken non-linear optics or quantum electronics.
Okay. So you'll have quite a ride in this semester from the subjects that I hear. So
Already.
it will be quite a bumpy ride actually, but then all the best. I know you'll tide over all this, but then it'll be a very shocking start, let's say, to speak the least. So
Let's see.
so that's 2 papers, right? So you have to start with those 2.
হ্যাঁ মানে এখানে actually individual papers have like a lot of more content than that was there in India. তো মানে
Yeah,
একটা
that's for
পেপারেরই
sure. Yeah. Okay.
মানে তার জন্য 2টো সাবজেক্ট পড়তেই তোমার মানে অনেকটা লোড আর কি। তো তার জন্য
Okay,
এখানে
and this
ইন্ডিভিজুয়ালি
and for what duration? This for the entire semester, right? This is for
yeah
6
it's
months?
for the entire semester.
Okay.
Not for
Okay.
6 months.
Okay.
It's still exam is early May, mid May, like for 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Actually, here there is a 3 months summer, so for that reason, the semesters are a bit smaller. The main 2 semesters, fall and spring.
Okay. But ours are small, even smaller, right? Even without the summer. Okay, I can see already it's we have 3 more minutes, so we can start off. We'll wait just for a couple of more minutes. I think people will join in at 8:30. I had created the link at 8 so that there are no roadblocks. But as you say, like today we were prepared early, so there are no roadblocks. But there was a day when we were not prepared early and the roadblocks didn't stop, right? So entire session, something or the other kept happening. And so I had my fingers crossed. No, it's an alumni meet, so we need to be right on point. And so nothing should go wrong like that. So anyway, it's good that we are prepared. I think Probir Banerjee sir has joined in, so I will also ask him to speak a few words. But something's wrong. Otonu, can you just give him a call maybe and say that I'm speaking? He's on the mute mode. Maybe he can't hear.
না উনি তো আনমিউটই আছেন।
Unmute আছেন? ও আমি তো বুঝতে পারছি না। Something's wrong. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. So we'll start off in 2 more minutes. So we have had plenty of registration. I mean, they will join shortly, I'm pretty sure. So I was a bit worried because it's more than 100. So it has crossed the 100 mark. So let's see. Everybody is very interested because, it's like the reason I have undertaken this particular agenda is because I think we should have an extended family. I wrote to someone on Facebook today also that we should work like a family, because whatever struggle you have gone through, your junior should not go through the same struggle. It's pointless,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
whatever lessons you have learned, if you don't pass it down to others, they will fight the same battles, and it's just a wastage
True.
of time and energy. So that's the whole point of the alumni meet. Some people think that, okay, I haven't achieved so much, so I can't be on the alumni talk. That's not it. Every journey
Right.
is valuable and important to us, because every journey has learnings, right? Whatever it is, it might be small, it might be big, but there is a learning involved in all the journeys. Okay, so it is 8:30, and I think let's start off, Akash. So,
Yeah.
who all have joined in already, to them, I really don't think I need to introduce Akash per se, because he has been with you. You have seen him as a senior in college. So he is just fresh out of college, let us say, because even the 1 year that he was on the job, he kept coming and going and mentoring all the students in my branch. So we really didn't feel, at least I never felt that he has already passed out. Mone hocche now that he's abroad, I know, okay, like he's not here. Otherwise, he was always around. So I was wondering which year he has passed. Then I thought, oh, okay, there's 1 year in between that he was not with us in the institute, but didn't feel like it, because he has kept very close contact with the institute all along. And though he's a kid to me, right? But then I have no shame in admitting that I have felt so very good that he came forward with the idea that he wants to share whatever roadblocks he has faced in his journey, so that others don't have to face this roadblock. I was really floored by this, because it is only a few hearts that have in them to give back. Okay, we know to take, but giving back is something that is very rare, and Akash did that. I'm very happy and proud, Akash. What more can I say? I've already
Thank
told
you.
you over
Thank you.
text that this suggestion was very good. And since he wanted to speak, and it happened such that it is a coincidence, I was already planning on having something, a series of talk. Otonu, amra discuss korchilam to have some alumni talk and all, right? So it
Yes.
was such a coincidence, and he pitched in with, like, I want to share the journey. And I said, okay, it's like it's a sign from God, like he wants, he or she, I know, on my almighty wants us that we should share each other's journey and roadblocks and go ahead. So thank you, Akash, and we would love to hear from you. So yeah, go on. Thank you. Start.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. So,
Welcome everybody. We'll
yes.
start off now.
Yeah, so today I'm trying to share about my journey that I went through after my undergraduate, and mostly the part of it that relates to me coming to the US to continue my PhD. So, so the thing is that now, as a college student, why you should think of it. Like when I thought about coming to the US, I was initially inspired by one of my seniors, Raj Gupta, who I worked with, and he told me about this opportunity that I could come abroad, I could study, because I had no clue back then that there were options that I could go abroad and study without paying any cost. And for people who know, it's really costly if you want to come abroad, at least to the States, to study. But there are things that you need to keep in mind, that you all of you have life goals that you want to achieve, and then there's the reality. Now, in India, I'm not saying that there are no opportunities. There are definitely loads of them if you find it, but uh, but but you also know that the job market and everything, it's the big names, the sort of names like Facebook, Amazon, and stuff like, and companies like that, the FANG brand. Now, these are a bit limited in like recruiting, or when you are thinking about placements there. But here in the States, or like if you in that context, if you talk about other countries like Canada and all, the opportunities to get a better job, or even if you're talking about research, is I guess a lot more than you could find in India. That being said, I'm no way telling that you should not do like any exams in India. There are CAT, there are GATE, there are lots of exams in which you can get very good ranks and get into great colleges. But this is just my aspect that I'm sharing. So these are the options that you get to see after you are a bachelor's in engineering. So most of you like will go for a job, and in Kolkata, the current scenario as it is, there is a boom of the IT companies, and like most of you will, if you go for a job, may end up in brands like TCS, Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro. Like I myself worked at TCS for more than 1.5 years, uh, and that'll give you a lot of experience for sure. But if you're willing, like me, if you are not willing to leave the initial branch of engineering that you had studied, like I had a passion for electronics and I would not want to leave that. So then you should, like, I mean, think about other things like higher education. And higher education, if you want to stay in the technical background, you have the options of GATE. You can have you can give the GRE, which will be the main focus of our discussion today. And if you want to go for management, now there is the CAT, there is GMAT for going abroad for doing your MBA, and there are also government jobs. Now, I'm not going to discuss about which is suitable to whom in this context, but if you are going to do a master's degree or even a PhD degree abroad, now the best option that you have got is giving the GRE. And giving the GRE, or like there are other substitutes that I'll be talking about, not substitutes, like things that you need to give along with the GRE. And with them, the few countries that I feel is the best for engineering students to abroad and study is definitely United States, Canada, England, and Germany. Now, these four countries all have their own benefits as well as like a few backdrops as well, like drawbacks as well. So today I'm going to focus about United States of America because I have done the entire process for the US and I could be able to share the best on that. So the type of graduate studies, I'm talking only about graduate studies because like all of you will already be doing your undergraduate, that is bachelor's from Heritage or like from wherever you guys are joining from. So after that, the two options that you get is doing a master's and doing a PhD. Now, you guys may be surprised that how can I do a direct PhD whereas I'm not even a master's student. I've just passed my bachelor's. I do not have a master's. Can I apply to PhD? Uh, I'll focus on that in the entire course of the PhD, but for the short answer, it's yes. You can definitely apply for that if you are an engineering student, right? So why can you apply to a doctoral directly is that in US, the need for applying to a doctoral degree is 16 years of schooling, which includes 12 years up to your class 12, up to your higher secondary, and then 4 years of your undergraduate. That's why if you're an engineering student who has a BTech degree for 4 years, then you can apply to a doctoral. But if you are like a general line student where the degree is for 3 years, then you won't be applying for a doctoral degree directly. You need to do your master's before that. So I guess most of you who are joining are engineering students. So you guys are lucky that you can apply directly to doctoral. Now, there are benefits for that, and there is a bit of sacrifice as well. So both masters and doctorals have their benefits, have their disadvantages, and we would be discussing about who should go for it and when is a good time to start preparing for whatever you need to, like whatever you want to do, masters or doctoral. Now, for masters, the advantages are that you get the degree in 2 years of time. Like it's almost the same as that in India. If you're lucky, you can complete the coursework in 1.5 years, maybe do an internship for 6 months and all, but it's almost 2 years of time. The application process, which I'll be discussing, is a bit simpler as compared to the doctoral. And after you pass out, you'll be having an average pay of something about 8.5K dollars a month, which is a lot as compared to Indian money. But here you will spend, if you want to stay here, you will spend a lot as well. But you'll be good enough with that. And what are the major disadvantages is that as a master's student, if you do not get like any assistantships, it'll cost you a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. Uh, Costs vary from where you are going to go. Like if you go to some suburbs, like in some city which is not a very large metropolis in US, but like by that I do not mean like a village, because here if you go to villages, it'll be it's not like villages that you are thinking of. So it'll be uh, it'll be less costly. But then if you're going to big cities, it's a whole lot costly. And then you're getting just 2 years, and you'll be only doing your coursework apart from working on your thesis. So you get less time for exposure, and the average pay is less than a PhD or a doctoral. Now, coming to the advantages and disadvantages of a doctoral, uh, it's usually fully or partly funded. Like in most cases, like even for my case, it's fully funded. So you do not need to spend anything apart from like your flights and your initial cost of coming here. Apart from that, you need nothing. Uh, and you get to know a lot of things, because like if you're coming for a doctoral, I would suggest that you don't come for the doctoral just for getting full funding, just for the purpose that you want to come here, because you know it's a 5 years. You need full devotion on what you are doing. If you are not focused enough, then things won't be as smooth as you would have liked it to be. But you'll get to know a lot of things. You'll get a lot of exposure, because apart from the coursework that you're working on, you'll be researching. You'll be working with a lot of people. You'll be working directly with industries out here who fund for the researches that you'll be doing. Uh, and average pay is definitely a bit more than what you would get as a master's student. And as for people who always dreamt of it, you will get a doctor tag before your name. So, and the disadvantages are that it'll be a minimum of 5 years. Now they tell that it's 5 years, but it can overshoot. It can overshoot. That's like it can become 6 years or something. But like it's worth it. I'll definitely say it's worth it. You're working here a very in a sort of a lab that you have only seen in pictures. That's what I can say after coming here. After seeing my labs, I'm like spellbound. So so yeah, you'll be getting to work in such sort of an environment. But yes, the application process is complicated, and it's definitely more competitive to get into, because of the fact that the selection would be a lot more steeper, because they are not taking any money from you. They have to fund you. It's like the professor who wants to take you into their research group. They need to pay the money to the university for your studies, and also for your stipend. So you see, so it's a lot competitive, because professors will be getting applications from places throughout the globe, and you need to stand out among them. That's why I wanted to share my experience as to what you guys can do from your undergraduate, like from your first year, second year, or whichever year you guys are in, so that you guys can build your profile with that. So now it's up to you guys to decide that, based on the prospect that I have told, based on the cost, based on the economic conditions, what is worth for you. Because in masters, you just need to spare 2 years of your life, but you need to spare a lot of money compared to here, you need to spare at least 5 to 6 years of your life for no money. Now it's and also for okay, I should also mention that if you're doing a doctoral, you'll also get your master's degree in the process. You also get a master's as well as the doctoral degree. So it's up to you to decide which you think is worth it, but I'm here just to tell you all the pros and cons of that. Now, for the full application process, these are like the few steps that are there. Now, there are a lot of nitty-gritties inside each of them as well, and I'll be talking about a bit of each of it. First, you need to give your GRE, then you go for your TOEFL, you need to get your transcripts from your university, you need to write a statement of purpose, you need to get LORs, which is like extremely important. I'll be focusing on that as well. Pre-application, it is a step that you must do if you are applying for your doctoral degree. Then you go for the college shortlisting and application. I'm coming to each of the steps one by one. Now, for people who are absolutely new to the process of application or to the process of thinking to coming to the US to study, now you got to give your GRE exam. GRE is like the general exam, the GRE general exam. That is what you need to give. If you are an engineering student, you guys are safe for that purpose, because if you are a general student, then you have had to give GRE exams for individual subjects as well. But for engineering, it's just the general exam that you need to give. Now, you may be astonished to see that you guys do not need to give any exam on the subject that you are studying in your BTech, because they'll evaluate it in a different basis. So here you'll only have to give exams on verbals and quants, like verbals as in your English. And like, trust me when I say that it's extremely tough. Like, the words that you'll find there, 60 to 70% of the words you will have never heard before. I'm sure you will never use them after that. But for the exam, you need to learn them. And for quants, it's mostly like class 10 level maths and a bit of class 11, 12 as well. But you guys are engineering students, and I'm pretty sure that you have a very good grasp over maths, and the quants should be an easy thing for you. So I would suggest anyone who is trying to go for the GRE, who is trying to score good marks in the GRE, to study the verbals. This exam is held like every day of every month in the year except the weekends. It's held every Monday to Thursday. If I guess most of you are from Kolkata, it's held in 2 different centers in Kolkata, and the total marks is like 340 marks, of which 170 is for verbals and 170 is for quants. Now, sorry. Yeah. Now, even if you leave the paper empty, if you do not answer any of the questions, you'll get 130 in each of it. Like, in the 340 marks paper, 260 is equivalent to 0. So, you can understand that the mark starts from 260. There are 40 questions in each of the sections, like 14 verbals, 14 cons. So there are 80 questions, and there are effectively 80 marks that you can score from 260 to 340. So suppose if you get a 290 or 295 out of 340, which you may think is like a lot, but it's actually not, because like your starting marks is like 260. So you have just scored 35 out of 80, which according to international standards of GRE is not very good. So you need to score something above 305, 310. It's excellent if you score above 320, which is better if you are applying to a PhD program, because you'll get an edge on the GRE front. Going to the next exam that you need to give, you have to apply for your TOEFL, or there is another exam called IELTS. like they are almost the same exam. Both are held by different organizations. TOEFL is being held by ETS, and IELTS is held by the British Council. Mostly people give IELTS if you're going for England, Germany, sometimes even Canada. TOEFL is mostly for US. But that being said, if you give any of the exams, you can apply to any of the countries. That's no restrictions at all. Now, TOEFL is relatively a lot easier than GRE because it doesn't have the great amount of vocabulary that is needed for GRE. You need reading skills, listening skills, speaking and writing. For those of you who fear speaking, I know that you guys could be very good in English, but then there is a problem that many of you face while speaking. Now that's the only section that you can like take a bit seriously. Other sections are literally really easy. Uh, by speaking, I mean you guys can practice yourselves in front of a mirror, give yourself some topic, and speak for a minute or so. So this TOEFL exam, it's of 120 marks. It has 4 sections, each having 30 marks. Now in the reading section, they'll give you, I guess, 2 or 4 comprehensions, right? Like that depends from paper to paper. And in the comprehension, the questions will be straightforward. Like in GRE verbal sections, you guys will also get comprehensions, but none of the questions will be like direct from the passage. You'll need to use your analytical mind to find out what it's about and then answer it. But in TOEFL, it's like direct straight from the passage. In listening, they'll like give you some sort of conversation or read out a comprehension that they will ask questions about later. So the thing is that you definitely need to write down the points that are there telling you, and like look, they'll give you papers to write the points down, and when they ask you questions or when the question comes up on the screen, you may need to consult that. Speaking, there are 2 types of sections. One is like free speaking. They'll just give you any random topic, and then they'll give you like 15 seconds to think about it, and then like a minute to speak on it. So that's the section that at least I felt was the most tough, because like about any random topic, they'll give you only 15 seconds, and then you need to speak for 1 minute. If you speak less than 1 minute or stammer or like stop in between, then there'll be negative marks for that. So that's a section you need to practice. And for writing, it's like you write a composition, and I guess that's also pretty simple if you do it. Now, what's usually being said is that in the TOEFL 120 marks, anything above 100 is considered really good and is should be the target when you're trying to even get into masters or PhD, because if you even come for masters, you would want the assistantship, like a research assistant or a teaching assistant. Uh, I can mention about those roles a bit later, but basically in these roles, your tuition fees gets waived off, and you also get a bit of stipend. So that's a thing that obviously all of you would want, right? Because that'll save you a lot of money, and even you'll earn money. So they demand that in speaking you should get more than 27 or 28 specifically, because you have to teach a class or you have to like take some sessions for a class. Now uh, that's not as easy as it sounds. So you need great skill sets as well as speaking abilities. Now coming to the next step is you need your transcripts. Now, the first 2 steps that I spoke about is the like GRE and the TOEFL. Among any of that, we have not come across how the university will judge you based on your curriculum, like based on what you're studying, based on your undergraduate. In US, or mostly when you're applying anywhere internationally, they give a lot of importance on what you're doing in your college. It's not like you do not study for the entire college, study for one exam, give it great, and then you go to some university. Internationally, that's not how it's done. You need to make sure that you give your efforts for the entire duration of your college, like for the entire 4 years. because there's something called a transcript. Now, what a transcript is, like, it's a compilation of all your report cards from your first semester till your last semester. And that is a document which you need to send to the university over soft copy initially, because that's how they'll judge, because the transcript will have all the subjects written in them that you have studied and the GPA that you have received. Now, that's of utmost importance that you have a good GPA. Anything above 8.5 is considered good if you're applying for masters. Even for PhD, it's good. But like as it should be, that everything above that is considered great, and the more you are above that, you are like a bit early in the race. You're ahead of more people in the race to get into that particular spot that you're wanting, because here it's not like there are a lot of spots and there are people applying from all over the globe, so you would need to stand out, right? That's something that you should understand. And apart from that, you also need to upload your secondary and higher secondary records, but the most important would be on your undergraduate, because you're continuing your studies from your undergraduate. What happened in secondary and higher secondary is, I guess, not that important, but your undergraduate would be. So that being said, I should again stress on the point that anyone who is trying to come abroad to study should focus on their undergraduate extremely well for now. Like, they should try to keep a good grades. They should also do other extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities. That helps a lot. I will be speaking more on that later. But for the grade and for the GPA, I cannot emphasize more on the point that you should focus on that. Now, the thing is that you need to write some statements, some essays on every university website that you are applying to. Mostly they ask definitively for the statement of purpose. They can ask for other statements as well. But the statement of purpose is like an essay that describes you. It's not like a CV, but I would not be very wrong if I say it's like a part of a CV which is written in like an essay format. You should cover mostly everything professionally about you, like as to why you thought about taking this course in your undergraduate that you're studying. And it should be really valid of mind that you're stating. Uh, it should not be that I just wanted to take it because this was the only option and stuff like that. You should not do that. You should definitely make up something like why this course was of interest to you when you have taken it, starting from like your childhood, not even if not your childhood, from your higher secondary days, that you found interest in this course and thus you thought of taking this. And every academic aspect must definitely be emphasized. That is all and everything that you have done in college, like not about specific courses, but like as a whole. Suppose you have done some particular research, like I had done under Auto and other aspects as well. Like if you like some particular subject, if you have worked on any internship, if you have done any training, if you have done any project work, every small details helps. Every small detail helps. Now, like it's a thing that I keep in mind, that in college you do a lot of things that probably you do not understand its value at that moment, like probably even attending this seminar. But then at the end of the day, when things sum up, you would get to know that each of the seminars that you attend, each of the things that you do, they add a lot of value to your profile, or even to you as a whole when you're thinking about it. So you should add all sorts of academic records that you have done, other accomplishments. Suppose you have won something. Suppose you have published a paper. Suppose you have been a leader somewhere. Every aspect that you can think of as a complete personality, as that can help in developing you as a whole, should be focused on. And as I already mentioned, any research activities that you have done would be extremely appreciated and would help you in getting a research assistantship position very easily. Like I know students who have gone into uh, the master's degree and have like sailed through 3 semesters with RAs, with TAs, and just had to pay only 1 semester of fees. And that was because they had research papers. That was because like definitely they were really good in their studies, and apart from that they had research backgrounds, because you need to compel your professor that yeah, I know I can work in in this field. I know how a research is being done. I know what a literature survey is, or else why would they take you? And if you have teaching activities, that also gives a real positive impact. Any teaching work, suppose if you have taught in Surya Kiran, I guess most of you from Heritage would know about Surya Kiran. That helps. If you have taught, suppose in any random YouTube, in your YouTube channel, suppose you have taught anywhere professionally, suppose you have even given private tuitions, which I'm sure most of you students may have done, to even junior classes. That counts. That shows that you at least have the patience that is needed to teach people. You at least have the patience to make them understand what you want. Yes, a statement of purpose would be a complete statement about you. Now, going from that, the next thing is the letter of recommendation. Letter of recommendation, it's again extremely important a thing. See, here in the US or even in other countries, uh, like I'm not talking about India, in other international countries, professors are like everything. I guess even in India that is, but sometimes we take it a bit lightly, which is absolutely not here anywhere else. Like here, you need to book an appointment with a professor to speak. You cannot just go into the teacher's room and like talk with any professor anytime you want. Here they have particular office hours, and here whatever the professor says, a letter of like whatever they say, the university takes it as the final word. And so when a letter of recommendation is coming from a professor in India as well, they take it with that much importance. Like it has a lot of weightage. Suppose you have mentioned something in your statement of purpose, but the professor says something different. The professor doesn't stress on that. Your statement of purpose goes a bit bleak, because you would want to strengthen your statement of purpose based on the letter of recommendations. Like your professors should acknowledge the fact that you have done something good, not that you are self-claiming that yeah, I have done this, but none of my professors know about it. There can be some things about that, but there should be most aspects that are covered by letter of recommendations. Now, there are 3 letter of recommendations that are mandatory for any university that you apply. There can be more. If you want, you can add more, but 3 is mandatory. Now, uh, freshly passed students, you at least need 2 from Heritage minimum. You can get 3 from Heritage, or like, if not Heritage, from any other university that you are in. And you can have 1 from other internships or other training places that you have. But definitely, you should not like get a letter of recommendation from a person who you did a 1 week training with. That's like that won't help. That definitely won't help. Even if you suppose have done a 1 week training from a person in Intel, uh, it's preferable not to get that, because it's 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 not possible for a person to know you in a 1 week period and write a letter of recommendation about that. But as for professors, the professors who have taught you, the professors under whom you have done your projects, they know you in and out, and they can the letter of recommendations they write hold a huge value when you're applying here. I myself am very much thankful for my letter of recommendations from Tonu sir, Mushiki ma'am, and that really helped. Uh, I, I I cannot thank them enough for that. And then definitely if you're doing if you're doing research under someone, then definitely that professor should give a letter of recommendation. uh, I know one person who did this, that who did research under one particular professor, and then it didn't go well. Probably they had some quarrel among themselves, and then finally he wrote about his research, but didn't take a letter of recommendation or did not include his research guide in anything. The universities did not take it very well because you see, if you are doing research and you cannot maintain a good relationship with whom you're doing research, then it can be the same here as well, right? So that's another thing that I just wanted to point out. Now, for the pre-application, this is one thing which is like important when you're doing for doctoral programs. So for now, I'm just specifying the application process, how it goes. The application process is mostly you give your GRE, you give your TOEFL, you have your transcripts, you have the SOP, you know the professors who you have had words with the professors who will give you your LORs. Now you think that you can go for your application, right? Like let me talk about this first. I'll come to pre-application. I guess that'll be better that way. Now, for the universities that you are going to see, now there are different websites you can use. There is a very good website called US News. There are other websites as well called Peterson's, and if you search on the net, I guess you'll find many more. But I use these two. So these websites will give you an exhaustive list of universities that teach your particular program, like the program that you are interested in. You can even filter from masters, you can filter from doctoral. Now, once you have done that, you can see the cutoff marks. Maybe it'll not be directly mentioned out there. This is a lot of work. I'm telling this is a lot of work, but it'll pay off because you need to go to the individual websites. You need to see the application criteria out there, see that if you qualify with it. Okay, now here I should also mention that just qualifying with it means that you can definitely apply. But suppose the sometimes the qualifying marks are state a bit lower because it's just qualifying to apply, and at the end of the day, the universities would want you to apply so that they can have the application fees from you and then finally choose. They would want a great pool of students. So you should be a bit diplomatic when you're applying. You should be also a bit thoughtful when you're applying when to the universities that you want. You should check the cutoffs. You should see the offered courses, see which you are willing to take up, right? And the value of the degree. This is something that you should see definitely. Like, suppose at the end of the day, after 2 years masters, you are not getting a job out here. Like, I'm more or less sure that won't happen. But if you are, for some reason, if you are not, if you want to go back to your country, or if you want to migrate somewhere else, then you definitely need to check that what value of the degree is in the country that you're going to go. If you're going back to India, like how will people value that degree out there? Uh, and obviously the average salary of an alumni, because at the end of the day, you would want a job that pays you good. And there are the other factors that definitely you need to keep in mind, but I guess I'll come to it after the pre-application process. Now that you know about this application process, about the shortlisting, like what universities you will apply to. These are just for the universities that you will apply to. Usually people apply to like 10 universities, keeping into account three different categories that are like ambitious, moderate, and safe. Right. Suppose you are a student having a GPA of 8 or 8.5. You have secured like 310 in your GRE, 105 in your TOEFL, and you have a decent profile. Uh, Now, based on this profile, if you see the universities, like suppose the top 100 universities or 150 universities, then you could say like the top 30 or the top 40 universities are like ambitious for you because they would be tough for you to get in based on this profile. Like then 30 to 70 or 80 would be like moderate for you, you have a good chance in getting in them. And after 80, you can see like they are safe for you. So your application pool should consist of like a good combination of these three categories, because definitely you will want to go to an ambitious one. That's a no, that's obvious that you would want to go to a university that is ambitious, that's among the top universities. But you should also have in your list some moderate and safe funds just for backups, so that at the end of the day you don't waste an entire year in not getting a university. Right. So for the pre-application process for the doctoral program mainly, why do you need to do that? Because you see there are lots of people who are going to apply for doctoral program. Positions are also very, very less. Right. So what you need to do is the point I mentioned that you need to go to the university website and see their cutoffs. Here you need to go one more step further. Here you need to go to the department, check out all of the professors that are there in the department, search for their research ideas, search for what they're researching on, and try to find what interests you or what research you have done. Now, needless to say, you should apply for the doctoral program only when you're wanting to do research or you have some research background. That'll definitely help. So you need to see that what that professor is working on, whether that matches with your research ideas. If it does, then only go on a professor. I guess it would not be a good idea. Like if you're suppose for me, if I'm working on nano devices and I mail a professor who's working in machine learning, then more often than not, the professor will mail me like, "Have you even looked at my profile? Why have you mailed me?" And that doesn't put up a good image for you. So you would want to look at the profiles of the professors and pick the professors that you want. And for people who haven't done that, that's absolutely not an easy task, because like if you go for even the top 100 universities, each department can have like, because mostly here computer and electronics also falls in electrical and computer are one department, and it has something around 80 professors in total. So you have to go through like 8,000 professors, find out like 1,000 or 1,200 professors who kind of match with your research activity. Mail all of them, mail as much as you can, because like the turnaround ratio is not really good. If you mail 100 professors, maybe 10 of them will reply back, and among them maybe 5 to 6 of them will say that no, I don't have funds, I don't have a spot left. So if you mail 100 professors, then you can expect like 3 good replies. So if you mail 1,000, you can get 30. So you need to mail as much as you can, because you want the ball to be in your court. Like you want to get at least 30 to 35 good responses, such that after that you can choose which university among them you want to apply to. If you do not have the choice, then you have to go ahead and apply to the only ones you have. And after you mail them, the professors will usually, like most of the times, will schedule a meeting with you, will schedule an interview with you, in which they'll ask you questions from your major, will ask you questions from your research work if you have some. And uh, and I should definitely mention that you should nail that. You should definitely do really good in that, because that's the only opportunity you have to compel your professor to think that you are really good in this. That's the only opportunity to convince them that you can do the job, because that's what will make them give you the scholarship. So that's the call that you need to like. That should be one of the most important interviews that you have given in your life. And like the fourth point, that'll happen after you give your interview. Now, if you do not even give your interview, that's also good, but the professor should be impressed by your profile. Now, once you've done that, you have an array of colleges that you want to apply to. If for masters, then you have like the colleges just from the pre-application college shortlisting, and if you're from doctoral, you'll include the mailing part as well. After that, you need to see your finance. That suppose there are some universities that cost a lot less, that really cost a lot less, and the universities that are there in the suburbs, and there are few universities, like suppose in New York, suppose in Washington, there are universities which are really, really costly. If you're going for masters, then I guess it's a really good decision to keep in mind the finance first, other than the like. This is the order that maybe you should follow. Uh, the finance first, that how much you want, you have, how much you can give, and will that be good for you? Then the location, like not only the location based on like what are the good places to visit. That's not the location I'm talking about. The location is like what good companies are there, like how much exposure will you get in that particular place you are in. Suppose you're going to a remote place which is very far from any big city, then the chances of getting good exposure becomes a bit less, because here you see in US, or in that case in any other country, you will not get direct campus placements like you get in Heritage or in India. Like companies don't come to your campus saying that, okay, I'll do this placement. There are campus fairs going on, and mostly campus fairs goes on in suppose a big auditorium in a city or something. So you should make sure that if you are nearby, then you can attend most of it, and you can take the like you can take help from most of the campus fairs, or at least get exposure or get into contact with many companies, which will help you in the long run to get an internship, to get a job, whatever. And then again, the weather. I guess the weather should be a factor that you keep in mind, at least if you are a person who gets cold or who feels cold like me. So it's definitely a thing that you should keep in mind, because at least in US, at least 70% of US is like under snow almost half of the year. Uh, that's a splendid sight for sure, but I'm not sure how I would like to live in that for 6 months. So, and then again, the funding status, because at the end of the day, you would definitely like if you get a funding, if you get a TA, if you get an RA, that'll definitely ease your load. Like that deducts from your finance. So anything you get is better, right? So you should see that you can go on LinkedIn, you can talk with people who are in that university, that like what are the chances of getting a TA, what are the chances of getting an RE, and how many positions are available. Usually these are available easily in the college websites, but if it's not, then you need to dig your way through. You need to like go through other resources, make sure you get that information before finalizing of college. And finally, one of the most important points is the return on investment, like how much money you're spending. Uh, because you see the cost of coming out here for even a 2 years master's is very, very large. Like to get an estimate, uh, an average would be something around 45 to 50 lakhs for 2 years. That's extremely large compared to Indian money. Uh, Now that can be plus minus 10 here, plus minus a lot if you go to a big cities like New York and stuff. So, so you need to see that if you take a loan or whatever you do, how many years could you take in repaying it? What is like you would not want to repay your loan for like 10 years, 15 years down the line. You would want to make sure that you get a good return on the investment and can pay off as soon as you can. So that's also a factor that you should keep in mind while shortlisting the college, and you should do your application process. Now, there are two application processes, two application terms usually in spring and in fall. I'll definitely tell you not to go for spring, go for the fall one, because that's the term in which most of the applications are done. So apply before Christmas. That's one suggestion. I'm not talking about this year. If some people are going to apply this year, then in this COVID era, things have changed and people have extended the deadlines. But usually they have deadlines like early January, mid January. But Christmas out here is like Durga Puja in Kolkata. So it's a festive mood that falls, and people do not. tend to work that much in that time. Yeah, it's better if you just make your application before that and make sure your stuff is done before the Christmas break. And by Christmas, I do not mean the 25th. I mean something around the 15th or 16th, because as I said, like if I say do something before Durga Puja, you will not do like on Panchami, right? You'll complete it some days early. It's something similar here. So you should submit all your documents and then keep a track that whether all the documents have been submitted on time. Because if any of the documents is not, you may need to follow up on that. And then if you have contacted a professor, mostly for doctoral, then you need to inform the professor that, yeah, I've applied, this is my application number, please let me know by when I'll get more information and stuff like that. Yeah. And usually decisions will come by early March. They can come as early January, and usually not later than early March. So by then you'll have a range of colleges that you have received admits from. After that, it's up to you to finalize which school you will want to go based on the factors like the location, the ROI, and whatever I've told. You need to finalize that school. You need to complete the formalities and documentation, because and that's a lot of it. Like I can speak a lot more on that, but I won't do that in this session, because that's after you get your admit. You have to finish their documents, go for the visa, go for service. There's a lot of other steps that you need to do. After that, yeah, it's done. You book your flight, you come here, you book your stay, and then you go to graduate life. Yes, that's mostly it for coming to the US to study masters or doctoral. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Akash. I think before giving anybody the opportunity to ask questions, I will ask a few questions, because as a
Sure.
teacher, um, we are very fond of asking questions. So let me ask you a few questions. So in order to help
Sure.
our students out as to how to go about this, you have taken us to the steps that that have to be kept in mind. Yeah, sure. But then you see, number one, you were talking about GRE preparations, right? So my question to you
Yes.
would be, for all my students, is that what would you suggest? Is self-learning an option, or should some help be taken in terms of tutorials, etc.?
Okay. So for GRD preparation only, I don't think that there is much need for going to some institution, because you see the preparation of quants, like as all of the students are in engineering, I'm more or less sure that they are very good with class 10 mathematics. If you are not, then you can think of taking some help otherwise. But if you're more or less certain that you know really good about class 10 maths, then the quant section should not be problem. And for the verbal section, it's mostly about learning words. It's mostly about doing comprehension. It's mostly about practice. Now there are books. I recommend that there is a book called uh, Manhattan 5 Pound. There are Kaplan. There are other books as well. So my recommendation would be to get one of the books, to practice from there initially and see how you stand. See that whether you feel that you're comfortable in solving the questions on your own, whether you feel that you should need any help or not. Like I got myself into an institution, I got myself enrolled, but as much help as I got for the GRE, I think that that could be done by yourself for sure. And because institutions charge a lot, like I mean a lot for these helps, and I'm kind of certain that this like the preparation part could be done on your own. Help could be needed for the application process, but then again, if you follow the steps, if you want to do by your own,
So did
you
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 take
can
any
do that.
help for application procedure? I mean, there are institutes where they manage your applications, right? So did you do it on your own, or you took help?
Actually, I guess the help would be better if you are going for masters, because there it's a lot less selective. But for doctoral, you need, because like the institution that you are going to, they do not know about your research. They do not know about what you are working and what you will be interested in. So you need to go to the websites on your own. You need to check the professor's profile, and then you need to do the email and the talking, right? So I'm not sure that the institution would be able to help a lot on that, because like you see, it's mostly based on what you are writing and what you want to do for your PhD. But for masters, I guess they could help. But then again, it's based on your choices, because like the institutions, they take something from 40,000 to even more than a lakh just for doing the application process.
Okay. Yes, I would ask if anybody else has any questions. If the participants have any questions, you can go ahead actually. So you can just go ahead if you have any questions regarding what we discussed. Yeah, okay. Till somebody comes up, I have one more question.
Sure.
Before, see, after you have chosen and done all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
How does a student go about arranging his or her stay at that particular location? Because it's unknown to the students, right?
Yes. Yes, right. So that's the thing. So you see, universities have, like, I'll tell you what I did, because universities definitely have their hostels. So you can directly book a stay in the hostels if you want. But more often than not, the hostels are a bit more costly, and you can get off-campus housing at, I guess, a bit cheaper price than the hostels. To get off-campus housing, the university, in the offer letter that they'll send you, mostly they give you links of some off-campus university housing places, which you can contact. But what happens is, like, here they rent out apartments, not rooms. Like suppose they give you a house which has like 4 rooms. They won't lend out a room on its own. They will rent out the whole house. So so you'll need 4 people to rent that house, because alone you won't be able to rent that house. You can, but then it'll cost you a fortune.
Very
So
expensive, you're right.
so you need other people. So all universities I know of have Facebook groups of called housing, lease, sublease. They have such groups,
Okay.
and their people are constantly asking that I need a roommate. Like, people living here, so if someone else goes out of their house, they would need a roommate as soon as possible, because then, or else they'll have to bear the cost. So it's a pretty open forum where people go on posting about places that are available, and people who want to go to that city uh, sends their application that, yeah, I want to stay
Okay, so
here.
you are connected over Facebook, right? So
Yes, initially I
your
connected over
roommates, right?
Facebook, then we
Okay.
did Zoom calls, and then we
Yeah, of course.
talked.
Then you carried it forward, right? Fine, fine.
Right.
So you have taken an apartment close to the university. That's good.
Yes, it's like a
Yes.
5 minutes walk.
Okay, that's fine. Actually, that will vary from university to university, but I just asked because
Uh-huh.
sometimes the hostels, sometimes you don't get a seat at the hostel, and also they
Right.
are very expensive. That's also there, and also you have more freedom when you stay outside. So lots of
Mhm.
factors depending on the place, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, does anybody else have any questions? But এটা তো পড়াশোনাও করছি না, তাও প্রশ্ন করছে না. I thought there'd be so many questions, but no, actually. I had expected more questions. Yeah, there's Vaibhav is asking a question. I want to go for MBA. He says, you can see the question, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. I
Akash?
want to go for MBA. So my question is, which country? Which is okay. So for MBA, what I know of is that, at least in the US, or like the other, or even in England, I know that that usually they do not take people without experience. You at least need a minimum of 2 to 3 years of experience to get into a good MBA school. Now, there are other courses as well, like Master of Management, MOM, like Master of Finance. There are other courses you can apply to which do not need the experience. But if you're targeting for MBA, then at least 2 years, of minimum 2 years, because people applying here for MBA, they have something like, most of them have something like 4 to 5 years of work experience. To stand a chance, you would definitely need a work experience if you're planning to come for an MBA abroad.
Yeah, and most of my students who have gone and done MBA abroad, they have gone after pursuing a job out here. Yes, so and they have successfully completed their MBA abroad. So yes, I agree with Akash. You have to have some job experience in the country in order to apply there. That will give you more points and more possibility of getting through. Okay, in a good college, that is, right? Yes.
Right.
Does anybody else have any other question? Yes, Shruti has asked a very pertinent question. From when did you start preparing for GRE? Yes.
Okay, so like I started off very late. I would not like to give that example because I would definitely want that you guys start a bit early. But the preparation is not really intensive, so you also can, based on your situation, like for my example, I'm telling, I used to teach private tuitions to students of class 9 and 10. So I was kind of comfortable with my quants. I knew that I did not have to do much for my quants. So I just had to do for my verbals, and I studied like after leaving college. After my fourth year, I started studying from August. I gave my GRE in mid-October. So it's like 2.5 months. But that's definitely something that you guys can increase, because if you have forgotten your quants, then you would need a good amount of time to revisit that. You would need at least another 2 months or so. I'd suggest giving it a 6 months preparation before finally going for your exam.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to what Akash is saying. If you plan to go in for GRE, it's best to start preparing now. Now is the best time, actually, because if you want to do your verbals, you can do it as a continual process, right? Because there's a lot that you have to study. So the more time you can invest in this, the better it is. So you can start it off anytime, because you have to, as a student, you'll be busy, right? Akash has applied after during his job period, right, after passing out.
Right.
So he
Yes.
had a buffer of 1 year with him to work around all these. So if you plan to apply right after college, I think Shruti, now is the best time. Yes.
Yes, well,
And
there are some resources that I can also share with you guys. There is an app called Barron's flashcards, which has like verbal word sets, 50 words in each set, and it's a quite easy way to learn words. I would
yeah,
not say an
actually,
easy
that's
way,
what
but
I was looking
interesting way.
forward to, Akash. I mean, like, whatever help you got, if number one, I would like to have a list of the resources for GRE preparation that you have used for the students,
Yes,
that
sure.
is. And another one, the college rankings. You remember there was some app you were using to find out the college rankings. That's very important, right, for application
Yes,
process.
but actually, it's a subscription that you need to take for a year, and my subscription has ended
No, no,
in
no,
November.
not your subscription. You just name the app. Whoever is interested
Oh,
will
okay,
take a
okay,
subscription on their own, right? So if they are
okay.
interested in
It's
applying, they will take a subscription, because I think that subscription is worth it. I mean, that is a money
Yes.
well spent, because
True.
everybody, everywhere, you'll get some abstract information regarding the rankings, and also you'll get multiple information about the rankings. So we need some very, some solid information regarding ranking. You just cannot go about with vague information. So that will help in application, I guess, right?
Yes, right, definitely. Definitely, that's a very valid subscription to take, and it'll help. So
Yeah,
I've also shared a
Kimash,
link here in the
yeah,
chat.
okay, okay.
That's like a Google Drive of everything that you can think about GRE, every books and stuff, so that you guys do not need to buy the books. You have the soft copies out here. And for the app is US News. US News.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If
Right.
you,
Right. US News. Yeah.
yes, you can go there and
So you can just keep a note of that, guys. Everybody, you can just keep a note of that. So you can get the college rankings out there. So you should always divide, as he said, like ambitious, moderate, and safe. So you have to apply like that, because there'll be a limited amount of fund which you'll be using for application procedure, and the applications are costly, to say the least, right?
yes,
And
yes.
also, one additional point I would like to share with all the students. Since I take that most of you who have joined in are interested in studying abroad, there is one very important point, that is your SOP has to be very well written. Number two, whoever you are approaching for your LOR uh, has to have the idea about what points about you need to be highlighted, because there are specific points that the universities need to hear. For example, your communication skills, your how you can work in a team, your interpersonal skills. Okay, uh, all that needs to be, and your extracurricular activities. Your teacher has to mention, all teacher or whoever is giving you the LOR has to mention and stress on those points. And of course, the extracurriculars hold a lot of value that is there in addition to your marks. Yes, any other questions? I'll just check, and we will close. Actually, it's we have overshooted here a little
I'll
bit.
answer the questions out here. Okay.
Yeah,
So
please.
it's like, is it possible to get a non-research oriented job after completing the doctoral or master's? Yes, like most of the jobs out here are definitely non-research oriented. If you are like, I guess you can get industry jobs. Most of the jobs here are industry based. If you want specifically to stay in R&D, you can do that as well. But you definitely can get non-research jobs. What was it? Duration of GRE preparation? I've answered that. If I want to have some research background, what would be a good way to start? Okay, so based on which department you are in, based on which topic interests you the most, you should go and approach professors in your department uh, based on what research they are doing. Uh, like like suppose if I give my example, I was interested in circuits, I was interested in device structures, solid states. So I approached Professor Otto Mukundu, and he agreed to mentor me for my projects, for my research activity, and it sailed through. So if you want to do a research activity, it's firstly important that you need to decide what interests you the most, and then contact a professor. And if it goes well, then you're done. Okay, how important is research experience for masters or PhD? For masters, I would definitely not say it's extremely important, but definitely it adds point. Like, so your profile would be marked upon some particular factors, like research experience, suppose adds on 5 points or 10 points, something like that. If you have a research experience, you get that point. If you don't, you don't. For the PhD, the points for research is definitely higher than for masters. And one of the most important factors about getting a research experience is that if you're applying for doctoral, you will most likely have interview sessions with your professor. And if you have the research research experience, then most of the interview sessions will be based on your research work, in which you are very well aware of. Now, just to mention that, suppose you're in your fourth year and someone asks you a question from solid state devices and you're not working on it and you've not read it for the last 2 years, then there's a very high probability that you may have forgotten the concepts. Now, if you have a research activity, most of your discussion would be based on the research activity that you have full grasp on. So you can direct your interview, you can make sure that your interview doesn't involve questions which are too tough, like which are off topic for you. So that definitely helps a lot. Can you give us a little insight for interdisciplinary master's program, like in science writing or science communication? Sometimes university offer this under MAMS. And the relevant career options for it. Okay, I am not sure about the relevant career options for it because that's something very specific that you need to see when you're applying for that. But you can definitely go for interdisciplinary masters. I know many people who had studied a particular major in their undergraduate and has changed their majors in their graduate level, and that's very, very much possible. And uh, if you are good at that, and if you have decided that you want to do in that, I think you should definitely go forward with that. As for opportunities, that I guess you need to like maybe Google or ask someone who is in that field. I'm sorry, but I am not aware of that. Does year gap affect MS PhD application? No, I guess year gap does not affect MS PhD applications. There are people who have applied for their masters or PhD like a lot after they have completed their undergraduate, or there is no place where they ask about year gap as far as I remember. So that should definitely not be a problem. My question is how to do research work under any professor to get recommendation letter. So I would just want to say that please do not do research work under any professor if you just want a recommendation letter. Do research work under a professor if you actually want to do that research. Uh, otherwise, uh, Otherwise, if you just do for a letter of recommendation, what will happen is that the research work won't go well. The professor won't be pleased, and your letter of recommendation will not be the way you want. So, do the research work if you're interested, and I'm sure you'll find a professor who will be interested to do research with you in digital electronics and artificial intelligence. I guess ma'am and sir will be able to guide you better as to who you can do research under on these topics, and I'm not aware currently. Okay. As you said, a person must have some work experience to get in B schools, but after completing my BTech, I will get 3 or 4 lakh per annum. That can't complete my investment over BTech. Then why should I go for a job instead of MBA before job? Okay, so like I didn't say that you need to get work experience to get an MBA in India. You can definitely go for an MBA in India if you want to. And as for 3-4 LPA packages, there are people in our universities as well who have received more packages than that. So if you are really good in the university, if you are open for opportunities, then I'm sure you'll have some opportunities which will give you a better package than that, uh, and that will definitely help you to complete your investment over BTech. You can then move forward for CAT, or like if you are not willing to have any job experience, you should go for CAT, because like I don't know, the concept out here, I guess it's more valid than the concept of CAD, because how can you be a manager if you have never interacted with people in an organization, in a work group? If you like, you at least need to be a team member first, right, before you become a manager. So here the concept is that you need to at least work a few years to make sure that you know how the work ethics are. Uh, Thereby you can apply for management. But yeah, you can't apply for management before you have some work experience. Is GRE of the same level of difficulty as of competitive exam like JEE? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. If you have a good, because JEE, you need to study a lot of subjects, you need to like a lot of topics. Here, you just need math, which is quite basic, and English, uh, which I guess is which is tough, but definitely not as tough as JEE for sure. Okay. Do you consider getting into an American university for MS better than getting into IISc or a top IIT for MTech? If you get into a top IIT for MTech, that's an issue, but like that's a good issue. I mean, so but I guess if if you want to know about the opportunities out there from IITs,
Come on,
you can
Akash, you
get.
don't have to be politically correct here, okay? So just spit it out. You don't have to be politically correct. I'm encouraging honesty.
Yeah, so like You can get a lot more opportunities out here for sure. A lot more companies out here that will, which are eager to give you opportunities that are there in India. Again, I'm not anyway saying that you can't get opportunities in IIT. You can definitely do so if you're studying for your GATE and all. But yeah, the opportunities are a lot more out here for sure. Is there any interview round after GRE? In what context? If this is after application into an MS program, then usually there is no interview round. After GRE, there is definitely no interview round. The interviews only come into picture once you have applied somewhere. So yeah, if you have applied for an MS, then usually there is no interview round. But if you have applied for a PhD, there is a very high chance that the professor will.
Akash, there's one little question here. I think that will add value to whatever question she's asking. That is, you said that you had emailed professors, right? And then they had scheduled some interviews with you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So do you wait for the acceptance from the university and then go ahead and call and meet the professor, or do you call and meet the professor and then apply to the university? What is the order?
So
do you get my question?
Yes. Basically, that's the pre-application that you need to do. That's before applying. Before applying, you need to mail different professors from different universities, schedule appointments with them, and if they are eager to take you, then you know
all that is before December, right? All that is throughout the year, like before December. So you have to complete your pre-application, mailing, talking, everything before December. And December you apply, right?
Yes, you should start something around October, and then you can carry that forward till November end or mid-December. But yeah, you should do that before the application, because if the professor agrees to take you, then you're more or less certain that if you apply to that university, you'll get in. And that definitely saves your money. That gives you a certainty that you'll get into that university if you apply.
So when you're mailing the professor, do you also send in your documents to the professor, as in your resume, LOR, etc., all that stuff to the professor?
You don't mail all of that. You just write an email write-up, which is something around 500 words maybe, just summarizing the important points in your curriculum. Like if you're applying,
so you talk about yourself, right? There, it's an essay.
Yes, mostly you talk about your research ideas, mostly you talk about your interests, some very important extracurriculars that you have, and your desire to work in his or her research group. And also, if you're applying for doctoral, you should mention that any opportunities to get a funding. You should ask about that also.
Okay, fine. Anybody else? Does anybody else have a question?
Can we do MS in aerospace engineering, which is more of a mechanical inclined subject after a BTech in EC? See, you can do any sort of engineering after doing BTech in any other major, but the thing that you should keep in mind is that you definitely need to make sure that you have that you can justify yourself in the entire process, that you can justify why you are doing this switch from EC or whichever major that you are in to any other major, because like they will also need to know, that you had a commitment of 4 years to a particular degree and now you're changing it. What made you do so? Now, suppose you come into this major for 2 years, then also you're not satisfied with that. Now, you need to make sure that they do not have these doubts. You need to make sure that you make yourself clear on the fact that that why you're doing this stream change. If you can do that in your SOP, if you have an experience somewhere in aerospace engineering, you've done some internship, if you can provide a LOR from that place, then that helps a lot. Then you can definitely go forward with it.
Yeah, and also Akash, there is something called a prerequisite course, right, for each course. So If you
Yes,
go
yes,
into some other interdisciplinary course, you will have some prerequisite compulsory courses that you have to take up. So maybe you are planning for a 2 years master's, which will go on for longer duration because you have to clear
yes.
some prerequisite courses. So that will also come into the picture. Meaning,
Right.
if you take up a
Right.
subject, you just cannot take up a course on its own. You have to have the prerequisite clear as well. So you can go online and check out what I'm talking about. So you'll know about that as well.
Yeah, and
What
the
a prerequisite
prerequisites
course.
won't add up to your master's. Like for master's, at least in
Yeah.
my university, you need 28 credits, and the
Mm-hmm.
prerequisite course credits won't add up there. So, as ma'am said, that you may need more than 2 years to complete it, because you will need to do that course, but you won't get the credit for that.
Credit পাবে না, but it will be compulsory. করতে হবে।
Yes, yes, yes. That's for
করতে
sure.
হবে। So it will take a longer duration of time.
I'm currently a student in civil engineering, so my question is, should I go for IT job because I don't have much knowledge in IT or computer related subjects? See, I was from an ECE background, and I did 1.5 year job in an IT company. It went well. If you're open-minded, if you're open for opportunities, because as I told you, none of the experience goes to waste. It'll help you somewhere or the other. Like I learned Python while I was doing my job, and I would need Python in my research work here. So you see, it helps somewhere or the other. If you are even working if you're even working in an IT job, and maybe that'll help you. If you do not want, definitely give your GRE before you are trying to finish. But as far as I think, you're willing to do your MBA, not GRE. So you may think to give CAT if you are not willing at all to take the IT job. But then again, each and every experience counts. Like I definitely loved my 1.5 year experience in office. That's a different environment, and you meet new people, you meet new friends. Like here, after even coming here, the experience for 1 month, it's been great. Like my housemates out here, they are so good. I think even one of my housemates was attending this call a while ago. So yeah, they are. So if you get good people, if you like, as I was telling, if you're open to make a change, if you're open to change yourself, if you're open for accepting anything new, by remodeling yourself a bit, if you think that that's okay for you, then it should, that going nowhere should be a problem. You can go anywhere if you're willing to make a compromise on some parts.
Okay, I think on that note, we will stop today, and I will request you to please maybe drop in an email. Akash, is it okay if they drop in an email? So when
Yes, you
you're
can
free,
drop me an
maybe
email, or
yeah,
maybe you can message me on LinkedIn. Anything works. You can,
yeah. So I think you can get in touch with him. The whole point of this event was to bring all of you close together so that you know whom to reach out to, because now we have got nuclear families. Earlier in the day, you could ask your dada or didi, "Toi ki korechish? What did you do? How did you go about your studies?" Nowadays, we don't have that, right? All you have at your disposal are your teachers. As you can see, we are not fully equipped to always help you in all your queries because we cannot be everywhere, right? So we have our children everywhere who can reach out to you and help you. So I'm trying to form this network through which you will be benefited. You can reach out to your seniors. Soon I'll be starting off something called the mentorship program, where your seniors will be your mentors and you can reach out to them. Even now you can reach out, but I'll get a database in place so that you can reach out to them. And as you can see, they're all ready to help. Yes, so on that note, I think we will end with the knowledge that whatever you learn comes to help you out in your life at one point of time or the other. Knowledge is never too much for anybody. It'll always come in handy, right? That is something that I shared the view with you, Akash. I'll request all the participants to switch on their videos if you can for a minute. Akash, you can just stop presenting so that we can take a click. All of you can help me out here and maybe send me the picture. You can just switch on your videos for a moment. We'll take a picture if possible. Thank you so much for turning on your videos. Thank you, everybody. Please switch on your videos. We'll take a quick snap. Just keep it on for a minute, maybe. And yes, Otonu, help me out here. Akash as well. And others are also my students, so I can also ask them to help me out. Yeah, just take a click so that I can save it for later. Please turn on your videos, everybody. Just a moment out here. We will click a pic with all of you. Akash, give us a nice big smile, please. Yes. So yeah, I have taken one. Maybe some of you can take a few and send it over to me later on. Just one more, please. Hold on. Yes. Did you get a click, Akash? Could you get a capture, screen capture? Yes. Gronthona, can you Shagota? Tomrao ekটু please screen capture koro amake pathiyo. Done? Done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in. We'll have more such sessions. Akash, thank you. You have been a sport. Khub bhalo bolecho. You have spoken very well. And we will look forward. We'll catch up, okay? This you have joined in a marathon, right? So we will run along with you in your journey. And we will share all your important milestones. And remember, you're all a part of our family now. So all your joys and sorrows are ours. All your achievements are ours. I'll share selfishly. I always say that all my students, whatever they achieve, are my achievement. So
definitely.
I hope to achieve more with you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everybody for joining in. Have a very good night. Have a nice day, Akash. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.